Hola estudiantes, soy Profe Hale, and I'm going to be teaching you all about the preterite tense today. Now, you might not have known, but Spanish has 10 different past tense form conjugations. Don't worry, we're not going to learn all of them today, but I just want you to know that there are a lot of different past tenses in Spanish. And this is because in Spanish we express a lot of feelings, moods, tones, and a lot of other information when we conjugate verbs, whereas English is a very heavy vocab expressive language. Spanish is a very grammar heavy expressive language. So, indicative mood has two forms of past tense, the preterite and imperfect, and that's what we're going to be learning for the next few weeks. The subjunctive form also has past tense, imperfect 1 and 2, and the past perfect subjunctive. The progressive tense has two as well. So you know that fun estoy caminando you learned from Spanish 101, while the preterite and imperfect also have their own forms of progressive. And there are perfect tenses as well. So the present perfect is also used just like the past tense, so we'll learn more about that this semester. And then there's also preterite perfect and past perfect, which if you continue in Spanish, you will learn all about. So let's focus on the two most common for the next few weeks, which are the indicative, which has preterito and imperfecto. So preterite describes completed actions in the past. It describes the beginning and end of past actions, and it refers to exact times things took place. Whereas imperfecto describes habitual and repeated actions in the past. It also describes actions that were in progress but then interrupted. It describes people, conditions, and feelings in the past, and it's used to describe times, dates, and ages. So there's different past tenses in the indicative form to express different things, different meanings. So, as I said, we're going to focus on the preterite tense today. This is from Puntos de Partida, capítulo 8, la gramática 22, en las páginas 255 y 257. You can also learn all about the preterite tense at SpanishDict.com. There's a link in this week's quiz. And also on this YouTube video, if you access the PowerPoint, you can click on it as well and watch a different video. If my way of describing it doesn't work for you, check the textbook. If that way of describing it doesn't work for you, check SpanishDict.com and there are lesson videos. And then finally, if that doesn't work for you and it just doesn't click or you need one more person to explain it, check out that YouTube video as well. So let's start with el pretérito. So remember, this tells us what happens, and it is a completed action. So some examples of this are, I called my sister last night. She talked on the phone. The phone rang at 12:30 p.m. So some expressions we use for the past tense are yesterday, last weekend, and past vacations. So in Spanish, we say yesterday, ayer, the last weekend, el fin de semana pasado, and past vacations as las vacaciones pasadas. So I know it's a little silly to sit at your home desk and watch this video or be out and repeat with me, but I really hope that you practice your pronunciation, even if it's in a little whisper to yourself when I say repeat, repetir, repiten. So I'm inviting you to repeat these new words for you. So we'll do this now. Repetir, ayer, el fin de semana pasado, las vacaciones pasadas. I know it's super silly, but it's a great way to practice. I practiced all of my Spanish pronunciation by myself, mumbling to myself while I was mopping the floor or cleaning up or at work or even just in front of the mirror, practicing and getting comfortable with speaking Spanish. If you can't speak Spanish with yourself, how are you going to speak it with anyone else? Okay, so I really, really invite you to repeat after me in these moments when I invite you to repeat the new phrases and words. Okay, so we're going to start with some regular AR verbs. As you know, we've got three types of verb endings in Spanish, ar, and ir, AR, ER, and IR verbs. So for our regular verbs in preterite, the endings are going to be haste, o, amos, hastes, aron. Notice that we will be learning vosotros There are millions of people, almost 45 million people, who use the vosotros form in España. So we will be using vosotros in this class, and you will need to know it for the exams. So make sure you learn vosotros even if you haven't used it or you never hear it here in California, because in California people use ustedes as y'all instead of vosotros. So vosotros is another way of saying y'all, but it's used primarily in Spain. So again, what were those verbos regulares? Ar, haste, o, amos, hastes, and aron. Notice that the E and the O in the yo form and the he, she form have an accent. So, let's repeat. Repitan. Tomar is an AR verb. Tomar. Yo tomé. Tú tomaste. Ella tomó. Él tomó. Usted tomó. Nosotros tomamos. Vosotros tomasteis. Let's repeat that one again. Vosotros tomasteis. Ellos tomaron. Ustedes tomaron. What's the difference between ellos and ustedes? Ellos means them. Ustedes means you all. So remember that even though they're conjugated the same, those two are very different. Great. Let's try another verb. Recuerda, there's accents in the E and the O. And la forma de nosotros is the same in preterite and in present tense. Tomamos. All right, it's your turn now. I'm going to give you a verb on the screen, and you're going to try to write it down on a scrap piece of paper or in your notebook, or try to say it out loud. So pause the video here and try to conjugate tomar el sol, which means to sunbathe, in the past tense. In the yo form, the tú form, the usted form, nosotros form, vosotros form, and ustedes form. Okay, pause the video and come back after you've written it down. Did you pause the video? All right, let's check your answers. Yo tomé el sol. Tú tomaste el sol. Usted tomó el sol. Nosotros tomamos el sol. Vosotros tomasteis el sol. Ustedes tomaron el sol. Okay, so if you wrote it down, how did you do? Did you remember? Was it easy? Do you need to go back? Remember that I'm always inviting you to be active and fighting for your own education. So when I invite you to stop and pause the video, I know it's super easy to skip through it and just be like, all right, what's the answer? But I'm challenging you to pause, take a breath, and learn and trust yourself. Try it out. Make those mistakes. Learn now so that you can be great at speaking Spanish later. Remember, we're growing our beautiful brain gardens, and it takes time to grow plants. So take a moment, pause the video when I ask you to, and write down on a little sheet of paper your answers, and so these can be nice checkpoints for you, so you can really learn and practice the new tenses. All right, we're going to go on to our verbos regulares. Ir, ER and IR verbs. These are the endings for the regular ER and IR verbs in preterite tense. So, yo is going to take the ending I. Tú is going to take the ending iste. He or she, él, ella, or usted, you, but formal, is going to take yo, again with an accent. Nosotros is the same ending as present tense, imos. And vosotros, istes. And then we have the ellos, ustedes, hicieron. Notice that we've got I in all of these, regardless of the fact that the verbs are or ir, or IR verbs. So again, that's I, iste, yo, imos, istes, hicieron. All right. Por ejemplo, repitan. Repeat after me. Comer. Yo comí. Tú comiste. Él o ella comió. Comió. Do you hear the accent on the end? Comió. Nosotros comimos. Vosotros comisteis. Ellos o ustedes comieron, comieron. Notice again that comimos, the we form, is the same. Acentos in el yo and the usted and ella. Excellent. All right, it's your turn to pause that video. I really challenge you to stop and take your time, practice these, and come back when you're ready, okay? Comprender is an ER verb, regular ER. Escribir, regular IR verb. Ir, ir. Take a few moments to write down your answers and come back. Did you pause the video? Did you really? All right, I really hope that you did because I really, really want you to be able to practice and learn these as you go. All right, so let's check your answers. Comprender. Yo comprendí. Tú comprendiste. Usted comprendió. Nosotros comprendimos. Vosotros comprendisteis. Ustedes comprendieron. So how would we conjugate that into English? I understood. You understood, he or she understood, we understood, y'all understood, I know you did, and they understood, okay? So, again, this is the regular past tense for finished actions. All right, let's try escribir. Yo escribí. Tú escribiste. Ella escribió. Nosotros escribimos. Vosotros escribisteis. Y ustedes escribieron. So, how did you do? While you're struggling, was it easy to remember? Is this nice review from your Spanish 101 or high school Spanish classes? Have you heard these tenses before? Have you used them before? All right, let's go to some irregulares. These verbs are completely irregular. So, they don't have accents and they're conjugated a little bit differently. Sadly, you just have to memorize these as they don't follow any rules. So here we've got ser and ir. You'll notice that these are conjugated the same even though they are completely different verbs. Ser means to be, ir means to go, but in the past tense, they're conjugated the same. Let's see what that looks like. Repeat after me. Repitan. Yo fui. Tú fuiste. Usted fue. Nosotros fuimos. Vosotros fuisteis. Y ellos fueron. Can you guess what the ir, to go, is in past tense if I tell you that they're the same? Let's try it together. Fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuistes, fueron. Notice that they're conjugated exactly the same, even though they have completely different meanings. This means whenever you see this verb written, you have to look at the context to understand which of the two meanings the verb has. All right, let's try another one. Repitan. Dar, to give, or in the past tense, gave. Yo di. Tú diste. Ella dio. Nosotros dimos. Vosotros disteis. Ellos dieron. Notice that even though this is an AR verb, it carries the IR, ER endings, which makes it irregular. Let's try another one. Repitan. Hacer, to do. Yo hice. Yo hice mi tarea. I did my homework. Yo hice. Tú hiciste. Él hizo. Notice that this is a Z. There's a Z instead of a C here. Nosotros hicimos. Vosotros hicisteis. Y ellos hicieron. So here we notice that we've got a little change in spelling. So in the he, she form, the C changes to a Z. Why is that? When we have stronger vowels and we want to maintain the pronunciation of that word, we'll need to change either a C to a Z or a Z to a C, which we'll see a little bit along the way. Hard vowels are A, O, and O. Softer vowels are E and I. The U is special in itself too and affects spelling as well. So be careful if you see a verb like hacer, which is a soft sounding S with a soft vowel after, because then when we have a hard vowel after it, we'll need to change to a Z so that we say it correctly. For example, if we said Hico, that hard vowel would change the C to a hard sound. It would sound like ico, ico. Ico doesn't really sound right when we have the verb hacer. So to maintain that pronunciation and that proper sound, we need to change the Z, or the C, to a Z. So this will help us remember why we have that spelling change when we have those soft vowels next to certain letters, because it changes how those letters are said. All right, let's try another one. Ver, to see. This one doesn't have any accents either. Yo vi, tú viste, él vio, nosotros vimos, vosotros visteis, y ellos vieron. All right, you're getting the hang of this, I know it. All right, it's your turn to try these verbs. Do you remember how to conjugate them? Ser, to be, so was. Dar, to give, gave. All right, pause that video and get out a piece of scratch paper and write down your answers. I tricked you this time, and I actually made you wait. Let's take a full minute here. I know you can do it. All right, let's check your answers. There's a typo on this slide. It should be ser and dar, not comprender. So, ser, yo fui, tú fuiste, usted fue, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis, y ellos fueron. So again, this is incorrect. It should be ser up here on the left-hand side. Dar, yo di, tú diste, usted dio, nosotros dimos, vosotros disteis, y ustedes dieron. Note, if you ever see a typo, a spelling mistake, bless you, a typo, a spelling mistake, or anything else, please send me an email and a screenshot, and I'll give you 1 point of extra credit for noticing the error. In this case, I noticed the error, so you can't get any extra credit. But in the future, if you have a handout or an assignment or anything that you notice something funky about, just take a screenshot of it and send it to me. The first person to find the error will get a little bit of extra credit for helping me improve my materials and the class. All right, let's look at some verbs that change the endings and that spelling that we were kind of talking about before. So the verbs that end in kar, gar, and zar change in the yo form. Can you guess why? Some examples of the kar verbs are buscar, tocar, practicar. To look, to touch, to practice. Some of the gar verbs are pagar, jugar, llegar. To pay, to play, to arrive. Some of the zar verbs are almorzar, empezar, comenzar. Notice that I use the ceceo, right, in this Castilian Spanish accent. In a Mexican accent or a Latin American accent in other countries, you would hear it as almorzar or empezar or comenzar, or as a soft S, almorzar, empezar, y comenzar. If you can't hear the difference, that's totally okay. Say which one feels best for you. All right, so let's see one of the kar verbs. So, por ejemplo, we have practicar, to practice. What do you need to do? You need to practice. Okay, so in the past tense, yo practiqué. I practiced. Practicaste. Tú practicaste. You practiced. Él practicó. He practiced. Nosotros practicamos. We practiced. Vosotros practicasteis. Y'all practiced. Y ustedes practicaron. Y'all practiced. But in Latin America. So here you see the kar. So again, this is the same issue with that soft and hard vowel after a consonant that's affected by vowels. So the C verb sounds different when it has a vowel after it that's different. So if the C has an A or an O after it, it's going to sound like a K sound. Practicar. If it has an E or an I after it, it's going to sound more like an S. Hace. So make sure whenever you see this, we need to change the spelling to, again, match it up. So if we used the regular endings in the preterite form for the kar verb, it would be Practice with an accent. What happens then? It would be practice. but we don't want the se because that's not what this verb sounds like. This original verb sounds like a k sound. So to maintain that k sound, we need to add q, u, e with an accent. So that c changes to a k with the q, u, e. This again is just to maintain proper pronunciation when we read the word in written form. All right, are you ready for another one? Practique. Tocar. Can you guess how to do it? All right, I'm going to say one of the subjects and then you're going to repeat it and we'll see if you're right. All right, yo. Oh, it gave all of the answers away all at once. Oh, so sorry. I messed up the animation. Okay, yo toqué. We'll get it next time. Yo toqué. Tú tocaste. Él tocó. Nosotros tocamos. Vosotros tocasteis. Ellos tocaron. So, we have that spelling change again because it's a k, a hard C, because it's an AR verb, tocar. So we want to make sure we change that C to a QU in the first present tense, or past tense in preterite to make sure that it matches phonetically and it sounds right. So we wouldn't have tose. Tose means to cough. We have toque. I played the piano or I touched the table. All right, let's do another one. Jugar. Repetimos. Jugué. Jugaste. Jugó. Jugamos. Jugastes. Jugaron. So here we see that the G also has a special spelling to it. Again, G is one of those consonants that's affected by the vowel that goes after it. So gar, g is a hard G. What happens when we put just a regular old E next to it? It becomes soft. If we have a soft vowel, it's a soft sounding consonant. Hard vowel, hard sounding consonant. So it wouldn't be jugué, it would be juje. Juje. That sounds kind of silly. So we need to add an extra U to strengthen that sound. So the U strengthens the G and brings it together. Every G needs U, right? Oh, I'm such a nerd. Okay. Jugué, jugaste, jugó, jugamos, jugastes, jugaron. So again, for pagar, we're going to see the same change. Pagué. We need that U. Pagué. Pagaste, pagó, pagamos, pagastes, pagaron. All right, are you ready for the next consonant ending that changes? We've got our zar verbs next. So, almorzar. So in this case, we've got a Z that is almorzar, right? Almorzar. So we're going to change this to a C. Almorcé. Almorcé. Almorzaste, almorzó. Almorzamos, almorzasteis, almorzaron. So as you can guess, why there's another change here. All right, it's your turn. Empezar. I'll shout out a subject and you try to guess the ending. All right, let's start with the easy one. Yo. Nosotros. Él. Tú. Ellos. Vosotros. Ella. How did you do? Did you get them right? How do we spell that first one? Yo empecé with a C. So that Z has to change to a C. Empecé. Empezaste. Empezó. Empezamos. Empezasteis. Empezaron. All right. I bet you got it all right. All right. Come on, little guy. There we go. Verbos EER. So leer is also a different verb that has some special spelling. So let's repeat after me. Leí. Leíste. Leyó. Leyó. Leímos. Leístes. Leyeron. Notice that the él, ella, usted form and the ellos, ellas, ustedes form has this extra little Y in it. When we have too many vowels together, the E-I-O or the E-I-E, that I switches over to a Y. Again, so it doesn't really get eaten by those sounds. It's to maintain. So leyó, leyeron. Instead of saying leyeron, leyeron. This actually has to do with how the verb itself progressed through time. So linguistically, it evolved over time because of the way people were saying and pronouncing the verb. There's another one just like it, creer. Can you guess where the spelling change might be? Yo creí. Tú creíste. Usted creyó. Very good. Nosotros creímos. Vosotros creísteis. Y ellos creyeron. Excellent. All right, your turn this time with some zar-kar verbs. Do you remember what that changes in the yo form? Comenzar. Yo, tú, usted, nosotros, vosotros, usted. Buscar. Yo, tú, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ustedes. So try and conjugate these in your notebook or something like that and come back when you're ready. Are you ready to check? Did you spell it right? Comenzar. Comencé. Comenzaste. Comenzó. Comenzamos. Comenzaste. Comenzaron. So again, comenzar, the yo form is comencé. C-O-M-E-N-C-E with an accent. Comencé. Buscar. Busqué. Buscaste. Buscó. Buscamos. Buscastes. Y buscaron. Again, busqué. B-U-S-Q-U-E with an accent. Excellent. All right, we've just got a few more left, and then you'll be free from our grammar today to practice it on your own in our Connect homework. So we've got a couple that also change in the present tense. Despertarse, almorzar, jugar, entender, encontrar, pensar, volver, acostar, comenzar, soñar, cerrar, recordar, perder, sentarse. Guess what? All of these verbs, all of them in preterite, are regular verbs. So you don't have to worry about these verbs changing in the stem in the preterite tense. So the AR, ER verbs that you learned in Spanish 101 that were stem changing, lucky for us, don't change in the preterite tense. They do change in other tenses though, so don't throw that chapter away or go forgetting all of those stem changing verbs. They will come in handy later on. But just so you know, in preterite, they are regular, so we don't have to worry about changing these the same as we did before. So, for example, despertarse would be me desperté. So this is a reflexive verb, right? We've got those reflexive pronouns before it too. Me desperté. Tú te despertaste. Ella se despertó. Muy bien. Nosotros, reflexive pronoun, nos despertamos. Muy bien. Vosotros os despertasteis. Ellos se despertaron. Se despertaron. Volver. Volví. Volviste. Volvió. Volvimos. Volvistes. Volvieron. So notice that these don't change in that stem here. We don't say despiert. No. We just say despertaron. Now, some IR verbs that change in the present tense. Dormir, vestirse, servir, preferir, divertirse, repetir. All of these do change in the third person. Cambian en la persona tres. Usted, él, y ella. So the O goes to a U, and that E goes to an I. So again, they're still stem changing, but there's not quite the same type of change as you saw in the present tense. For example, dormir would be yo dormí, tú dormiste, él durmió, durmió. It's got a U, so the O changes to a U. Then it goes back. Nos dormimos, vosotros dormisteis, y ellos durmieron, durmieron. So in the third person form, singular or plural, it's going to change that O to a U. Durmió, durmieron. Muy bien. All right, it's your turn to try it out. Vestirse. Yo, nosotros, tú, vosotros, ellos, usted. Can you conjugate it? Vestirse. Let's see how you did. Yo me vestí. Remember, it's a reflexive verb. Don't forget those reflexive pronouns. Me vestí. Te vestiste. Se vistió. Vistió. The E changes to an I. Nosotros nos vestimos. Vosotros os vestisteis. Y ellos se vistieron. Vistieron. Again, that E changes to an I. All right, that's all for today. This is our 30-minute lecture for our preterite tense. Come back next week so we can learn some more stem changing and irregular verbs. Make sure that you do your Connect homework online, which is also in our module. And I hope that you learned a lot today and that you were able to repeat after me. You took a chance and you challenged yourself to learn some more Spanish. All right, see you next time. Adios.